advice under the sun. Most parents who come to us with kids who have already been diagnosed with a behavior or some sort of mood disorder, and they're a little bit lost and don't know what to do. So we are Bonnie and Thomas Liotta with Creating Champions for Life. We're the authors of Learn to Speak Kid, as well as Raising Healthy, Happy, Cooperative Kids, which talks about the history of parenting. How did we get here? How did we get to where 1 out of every 4 kids is diagnosed with ADHD? How did we get to 1 out of every, or I want to say 2 out of every 10 kids having oppositional defiant disorder? How did we get to the point where now we have IED, DMDD, anxiety, depression? How did we get to the point where our children are now suffering with mental health disorders all over the world? How did we ever get to the point where drug overdose takes our kids? Number 1 cause of death for teenagers. Or suicide, number 2 cause of death for teenagers on a global scale. So the Raising Healthy, Happy, Cooperative Kids book will tell you how we got here. The Learn to Speak Kid book has the 12 principles of Learn to Speak Kid. This is the parenting Bible that has step A to Z, exactly how to create a proactive environment, how to guide your children to their champion selves. And I want to say every child has a champion in their soul if we have the correct information to be able to wake that champion up. So as we're waiting for people to join us this morning, Thomas, and start asking their questions, do you have anything that you'd like to share with the audience this morning?
You know, if we could go back in time, well, first and foremost, thank you for joining, taking the initiative to actually step up and do something to address what people might think is wrong. And what's the opposite of wrong? Maybe right. You know, we're going from wrong to right. Hey, how do I make this right? But I'd like to plant the seed with you. Instead of what's wrong is right, what's the opposite of right? Many of us default back to what's wrong. But if you could make a shift and go from wrong to right, right to left, then you would know to go, oh, what piece has been left out of my parenting puzzle? And many times this is exactly what you're going to find time and time again. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 principles that every single time parents come to us and they go from 0 to hero, we find that missing ingredient, and how powerful it is to have all the right ingredients when you're cooking, Bonnie.
Right. We have all, yeah. If you're given the wrong ingredients, if you're told to use baking soda instead of baking powder when you're baking your cake, and then your cake doesn't rise and you're like, what? My oven doesn't work. This is kind of where we're at with our parenting today. Hey, you know what? Discipline them in the moment with some sort of something they don't like so that they can learn their lesson. And then you're pulling your hair out because that is the wrong ingredient.
Right. See, that'd be the switch from punishment to guiding. Where's the missing ingredient? You may have the best tonality, have the right mindset, everything else is in place, but we go approaching telling them what to do versus asking a question. You see, the power of thinking is robbed, destroyed, taken away, a minus sign in mathematics when you tell somebody what to do. But if you ask a question instead, then it engages and allows them to think. And that's one of the most missing things ever. Well, I don't know. Well, that's okay. I know you don't know, but if you had to guess what it might be, takes us back to when we were all 5 to 10 and you went through some kind of carnival or some kind of fair or something, had this big jar of jelly beans and there was probably thousands of them in there, and like, guess how many are in there and you might win. Well, I don't know. Well, that's the game. Guess and start to ask questions so we can all start to think, because at the end of the day, Bonnie,
how
many of us signed up for, hey, what could I do everything backwards and create chaos? Because I don't think that was the initial plan when we engaged in sacred energy exchange, better known to be having kids and parents.
Well, that's the thing. Anybody can be a parent, but it takes a special parent, a champion parent, and an awake parent to raise champions. So while everybody else is giving parenting advice and talking about how to get your kids to comply, what we're going to show you and teach you is how to help your child step into their champion self. A child who is confident, respectful, cooperative, harmonious, a house that's full of peace and happiness. And I want to say it is possible. This is the vision that we want you to have as you step into your parenting role today. It is possible to have all of this greatness. And this is the first time we've ever gone live on TikTok. So welcome, TikTok fans. If you have questions, this is parenting questions, Q&A, anything goes. And I have the phone in my hand because people are asking questions in our Facebook group. And for some reason, they're not coming up on the computer. So welcome, Kelly and Jessica and If2. Thank you so much for being here. Kelly Coob, hello. And Jessica says, there are so many questions being asked to my boys. I love using the if you had to guess. Yes. Well, I don't know. Well, if you had to guess, little one, what would the answer be? Because
because right there,
yeah,
there's like a magical window. How many of us moms, I'm not saying that we've been duped, but it seems like there's no end to this marathon of running called do for your kid, do for your kid, do for your kid to be a great mom.
Right.
There's got to be a part that's clicking going, well, when do they do for themselves? And that's part of the whole process is you start asking, well, what do you think I did to make it happen? So they can start playing a game called Monkey See, Monkey Do. It's all about transferring. The big name of the game is when can your child provide food, clothing, shelter without you?
Right.
And if we can just set our GPS coordinates to that destination, doesn't matter which way you go, you'll hear the magical words of rerouting and recalculating. Because just like an airplane that's off course 98% of the time on autopilot, parenting can too. But if you listen to the clues, you too can always stay on track every step of the way. Proactive versus reactive.
All right. So if you're watching us, I want to ask, how did you learn about us? How did you learn about creating champions for life? Number one. And number two, what is it that you'd like to see more of as a parent with your children, in your home, for yourself? And as you're answering us in the comments, whatever platform that you're on here this morning. Oh, you know what? I forgot to go over here and go live on Instagram. There's like all sorts of moving pieces. All right, we're in our group. We're on our fan page. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. Yay. If you have questions, now is the time. What are your deepest burning parenting questions that you need answers for? So as we're waiting for the questions to come in, I wanted to share this with you because as most of us are like, watching videos, reading articles, reading parenting books. I spent the last 30 years studying like the law of success, books that teach success principles. And when I met Thomas in 2011, what I realized was that there was no success principles in the parenting books. The parenting books were all based on theory, on guesswork, on this might work and this sounds like a good idea. And now we have all of this parenting advice that might work or sounds good, but it's not working, or our kids wouldn't be dying. And that's the truth. So we study the law of success. And I had moved on. This is probably my 5th time reading this book, to be honest. And we had moved on to chapter 4. But every time I open the book, I don't know if I can put the here, but the page kept bringing me back to page 74, and the chapter is called Initiative and Leadership. How many of us watching here realize that we are managing our children's behavior? We are taught to be like appointed managers. Like you're a parent, now you're a manager. Where the truth is that if you're a parent, you're actually a leader to little offspring, like little genius offspring. Yes, you are a leader. So this book, this chapter is called Initiative and Leadership. And I'm like, there must be a reason why. Let's just read these pages again. And I want to start with the element of personal dignity. because is it important for you and your children, is it important for your child to have some sort of personal dignity? And I think that we would all agree, yes, this is really
Mhm.
important. And so I'm gonna change military leadership, the word military leadership to parenting, and I'm going to change, like, soldiers or, your men to your children. And this is what I found. It says, "The element of personal dignity is important in parenting. Be a friend to your children, but do not become their intimate. Your children should stand in awe of you, not fear. If children presume to become familiar, it is your fault, not theirs. Your actions have encouraged them to do so. And above all things, don't cheapen yourself by courting their friendship or currying their favor. They will despise you for it." I just thought that that was absolutely so powerful because how many of us have had our kids say, "I hate you," roll their eyes, act disrespectful, punch things, hit things, act out in aggressive behavior. Could there be a cause behind this behavior versus there's something wrong with them, and now they need therapy and medication and all the traditional answers for parenting? Okay, they will despise you for it. If you are worthy of their loyalty and respect and devotion, they will surely give all these things without asking. If you are not, nothing you can do will win them over. And I just how powerful is that? Do you have any comments? Share comments, and we love to have your comments and feedback because this is how you comment, we steer. We are your parenting trusted advisors, and so we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into live Q&A, anything goes, and if you're asking on TikTok and we don't get to you today, can you bear with us? Give us a little bit of grace in your pre-frame because it's the first time we're going on all the platforms, and I can't really see what's going on top over. But if you go to our profile, you can always join our group, okay? So, let me go back to hi, Chelsea, thanks for watching. Jessica, almost every time you say, "I know you don't know, but if you had to guess, what would the answer be?" The boys know the answer. That is excellent. And okay, so the first question in our live Q&A today is, I'm feeling so frustrated. My daughter has been basically defecating in the house, and, she's almost 5. She is potty trained, so not sure what's causing this. My husband accused of bullying at daycare with scratching and pushing, which I've been very upset about. I've even had a parent-teacher meeting the other day. So can anybody else kinda relate to this kind of thing? Like, the kids know how to do something, but they're over here doing something else, and you're kinda at a loss of why the cause of this. So why would a child who is potty trained start peeing around the house? At?
'Cause it works.
Mhm. Versus what?
Attention. You see, attention is the number one ingredient, almost supersedes oxygen for what our body requires or spirit requires, is attention. You see, when a baby or offspring is born and in a very short window of, like, say, a week, there's no attention, guess what happens? It dies. Case closed, not an opinion. See, when we're neglecting to see some little genius who's playing monkey see, monkey do in life. They're mimicking, and when they're not validated, whether the behavior is right or wrong is irrelevant. Being validated, they're doing whatever it takes for attention. And let
Mhm.
me relate it to one more thing here for you. How many of us can hold our breath underwater? 5, 10, maybe up to 60 seconds or something. But after that, you need to get some oxygen or you will die. Also true, Bonnie.
Yes, absolutely true.
Now, would it be justifiable to say, "Well, he scratched me, he bit me, punched me, he kicked, cut, and scrawled," whatever it was, they were fighting to get air when your hand was pushing them down, how much does this resonate as a actual factual truth? And if we can see it as they're just starving for attention, see all the other clues of them doing things uniquely have been taught to be missed. This is where that Raising Healthy, Happy, Cooperative Kids book talks about how they did it over the last 3 generations. Not a conspiracy theory, it's just the truth. I mean, you can start to see that it would be like, "Okay, did she get my attention, comma, finally?" If the answer is yes, you just saw the first step to the clue of what to do.
Yeah, and let me fill in the blanks as a mom from one mom from one mom to another.
Change the W upside
Um,
down.
we're taught through Dr. Spock, baby and child care and all authoritative parenting that all children require is attention. So we should be lavishing them with attention. But I also want to say, but what does that look like? Because as a young mom, I used to bring my kids camping. We'd go on walks every day. We'd go to the store. We'd go to the park. I watched movies with them. I read them bedtime stories every night. I brought them to Mexico, to Disneyland. So, how many of you watching, like, do these kinds of things to your kids going, "I'm giving them attention." Like, hello. So, what I wanna bring a magnifying glass to right now is the kids are not looking for those things. And this is a little bit, like, of an unpopular opinion probably. When I planned to bring my kids to Disneyland, my ex-husband said, "You're not bringing them for you or for them, you're bringing them for you." And that hurt me, and I was like, "No, I want to give my kids the life I wanted or the life that I never got to live." And going to Disneyland, I remember friends in my classroom going to Disneyland, and I never got to go anywhere, and so for me, it was really important to plan trips and things like this for my kids, but every time we went on a trip, they would fight and argue, and it was really stressful. Anybody with me on this? Can you relate to this? Give us a like or something or a comment if you can relate to that. And then when I met Tom and he started to, guide the kids by asking questions, and he started to make proactive parenting approved plans for the kids to be able to earn their privileges, what I saw were my kids kinda come back to life. They started getting along, they started helping around the house. Everything completely transformed from this chaotic mess with kids being diagnosed with behavior disorders and on, to, like, happy, healthy, cooperative kids, peaceful harmony in the house, all sorts of great things were going on. And what I realized was that there's a difference between reactive attention, which is what this little girl is doing. She's getting reactive attention because we're missing the proactive attention. What if what if our kids didn't want any of the things they didn't want you to get them any of the things that they're asking for? Rather, they wanted the life skills to be able to do things all by themselves. Have you ever had your kid go, "I wanna do all by myself.
Do it
I can
myself.
do it myself," right?
I love that one. I can do it myself.
So proactive attention is outside of the norm of what you're going to be used to in your parent training. And I know this because I've read all the parenting books. I've been where you are, and I'm now on the other side with kids who came back to life. Um, so proactive attention, l take the control off, because when we control everything that our kids do, tell them what to do, how to do it, when to do it, "Put your shoes on, let's go, time to get in the car, hurry up, we're gonna be late." Can you relate with this at some level? Then there's no thoughts coming from the children or the child themselves where they feel like they have some control over their own lives. So, what I wanna encourage you to do and is to learn. Come join our community and learn how to lead your children by guiding with proactive plans, setting out ahead of time the good, the bad, the ugly, and then allowing our children to choose their own outcome. And that might sound like French to you, and that's okay. The more you hang out with us, the more you're going to learn. There's always going to be a starting point. So, we're waiting for questions. We can only guide if you all ask your parenting question. strong-willed. Well, guys, if you have a strong-willed child, think about this. We want to work with them, we want them to cooperate, but we don't wanna kill their spirit, do we, along the way, right? We want them to be authentically motivated from the inside out, so that strong-willed child, if you're raising a child who has oppositional defiant disorder or IED or DMDD or conduct disorder, these are leaders who are being pushed into a box of this whole gentle parenting thing. I watched a video the other day on gentle parenting. It was, "Mom, can I have some of your lunch?" "No, you gotta set a hard boundary. I'm not against boundaries." "No, this is my lunch. Go get a cheese snack." And I'm like, "Well, that's lovely. How about validating the child has a desire? What was different with their lunch compared to your lunch? How about asking the little guy some questions?" I'm not saying to share your lunch. Have a boundary. It's all good. But is his desire to have whatever it is that's on your plate that he didn't have access to, is that as important as the boundary? Is the child as important as the boundaries that we are creating? What do you think? I'd be happy to hear your opinion on this. So, Angela asked a question
Before you
in
jump into
here.
that,
Yeah, sure.
whoever it was that said, I have a strong-willed child.
Oh,
My goodness. How did you get so lucky?
mm,
Congratulations. Because you must have a strong-willed child. We're all born strong-willed, or we wouldn't have made the physical obstacle course to be one out of a million to show up in physical form. So the question is do you want to guide it or punish it? There's about a control there. You see, if you look at history, it always tells the truth. And let's just go back to something that pretty much everybody's gotten over. You go back a couple 100 years, and it was called slavery. You know, the slaves, regardless of race, the ones that were ignorant and fearful, and we might want to use the word innocent, some people that can grasp it. Those are the ones that they kept for workers. False or true? Wrap your head around it when you think this way. Which ones did they get rid of? The ones that said, "You bale, you bale the hay. I'm sick of being your slave. I want freedom. I want a house too. I want to have a family. Matter of fact, I want my offspring to be born into freedom." And which one of the three did they get rid of 1 to 200 years ago?
mm.
Doesn't take an Einstein to put two and two together. Has it changed? No, it's just transmutated into a different process. So, what kids are we getting rid of? Labeling, shunning, the future leaders that are here to share an amazing gift with the world.
Yes, I just had somebody comment, "I'd rather tame a tiger than teach a turtle." And isn't this
Say that again.
what is our role as parents? Is it to follow the kids around all day, make sure they cooperate and eat their lunch and protect them and bubble wrap them and all these things? Or is it to prepare them for the world?
Ooh, I like this question because if we all look at every single animal in the animal kingdom that bears offspring, including us, yes, there'll always be somebody that says, yeah, but we have free will. Well, that's true, but we're still doing the same process. What does every animal do unconditionally? Is it to postpone or prepare them to launch out of the nest and be on their own? And when you've got a strong-willed kid, that's the one you're like, let's prepare them. Everything we interact with, we do once to show them what it looks like. And then we started doing it together with the idea to go, yes, I'm tying your shoes now. Yes, I'm changing your diaper. Yes, I'm taking you here, taking you there. With the sole purpose is to show you how I do it so you can monkey see, monkey do, follow the leader, and then play that sacred Simon Says game and look what I can do all by myself. And if there was a list of life skills to learn before you did, well, this would make the from 0 to 18 journey actually have a purpose. And I remember the first time I asked you that question, Bonnie.
I do too.
What's your role as a
I had no
parent?
idea how to describe my role as a parent. How about you? Do you have a mission statement for your role as a parent? See, anybody can be a parent. Takes a very special parent to raise champion kids, and that's who we are, creating champions for life. We can take the kids with the worst behavior, the worst cases of ODD, the worst cases of conduct disorder. We have had clients come to us who have had teenagers who were suicidal. Whatever it is that you're dealing with, I promise there's a solution, there's an answer, there's a way. And I'm not going to say easy, but it's extremely simple. So we've got some questions coming in. I'm going to go to the questions. So as a Grammy, when the grandsons come for the weekend, I sometimes have them make a list of things they want to do over the weekend. They get to learn the skill of making a list, thinking, and become motivated having seen the things written down. Is this an okay thing to do to be prepared for the weekend? I want to say yes, but I want to add a +1 to the thought process behind this. Okay. When you get your head wrapped around leadership parenting, then what happens is we go from this opposition parent, the one in charge, the kid who has to listen, and you've got these two kind of opposing forces.
Like you have in a game when this team's looking to score and this one's looking to score. So you're always constantly overpowering each other.
Right? So that's like the parent and the child that we're kind of used to. You should just listen. You're the child, just should be seen and not heard, right? We've heard these things before. And then you come over to creating champions for life and you're like, oh, they need to have a goal. And then because we parent the way we're used to, you're like, I need to give my kid a goal. Now we start to bribe. And it's illegal to bribe. If you bribe a police officer, you go to jail. Can you see that comment right there on TikTok? So it's illegal to bribe. The Bible talks about bribing and how it's a sin, but yet it's okay to bribe our children to do what we want them to do. So I can see where you're coming from, Angela. You want to have peace in the house, and I know that you have had a lot of more peace in the house than what you're used to.
Yeah, he says that's my household, and repeatedly, consistently push and pull all day long.
Okay, yeah. So you're not alone. You're not alone. Thank you for being here, for watching, for joining, for just kind of being a fly on the wall today and going, who are these people anyways? And how do I get to the other side where we're not constantly pulling and pushing all day? So this is kind of the vibration or the energy I feel behind them making a list, is so that you can now take that list and use it to get them to cooperate. Am I on the right path or not? When we are talking creating champions for life, we need to almost erase the whiteboard of what we thought it was meant to be a parent, and start with a brand new thought pattern that says, hey, I'm your leader. I'm your trusted advisor. You came to me to show you how the world works. And you trust I'm your favorite person in the whole world. Parents, you are your child's guardian angel, favorite parent.
Superhero.
Superhero. The only person in the world that they really look up to for a certain period of time. And if we get this idea, this concept, I'm here to guide them to accomplish their goals versus tell them who they need to be, or use any type of manipulation to get them to just comply and cooperate with me. No, your role is to work with your child as a trusted advisor, side by side, hand in hand. Hey, little Timmy, I am your trusted advisor. I want you to have that cookie. I'd love you to have that video game. Oh, you want to go to your friend's house? Cool. Oh, you want that special pink pencil for school? Awesome. I want that for you too. Let me show you how you can make that happen for yourself. So, Angela, to answer your question, yes. Is it a good habit to get into writing down what you want to accomplish today? Sure. But let's do it with the intention of, I want you to have what you want and I'm here to help you get it, versus I want you to make a list of all your goals so I can use it against you to get you to cooperate. Does that resonate and make sense with everybody watching. If not, keep asking questions for deeper understanding. A 5-year-old is normally seeking independence. I would wonder how many life skills this little girl has been shown how to do. Yeah. So all children from 0. We have a granddaughter who's 16 months old, and she's seeking independence. I turn around in the kitchen one day, and she's standing, and this was a couple months ago, 14 months old, and she's standing on top of the little step ladder, and I'm like my first reaction is like, my gosh, what are you doing up there? But because I've practiced creating champions for life for so long, I was like, look at you climbing that ladder all by yourself. Can you get down all by yourself? And she just like squats down, grabs the little handle, crawls down by herself. It's like these things, dangerous things done in a safe way so that our children can feel empowered. If I had said, ooh, we don't climb up the ladder, let's get over here, because I thought my job was to protect her versus empower her to engage in life, it would have been a totally different story. There would have been a meltdown. There would have been some opposition. Are you with me on this?
Yeah.
Say yes.
You're also teaching or creating the right environment of do it when mom's not in eyesight. You see, prior to Bonnie seeing that for the first time, is Harley Faith was able to, we play detective. What catches her curiosity? See, it's that curious George in all of us is when we are the sweetest window for learning. So before stepping up on it, she was learning how to push things so she could push these things around and so forth. We got a little cart for her at the grocery stores, and she's just pushing it. Did she run into everything like a pinball in a pinball machine? You bet. But she's pushing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Want to mimic. So when she's pushing this, and then pretty soon she saw us standing on it. That's where the magical window, the teachable moment happens. So with guiding and safety type of training, then that was handled where she could go up to the both of them and come back down. So by the time that Bonnie saw this, can you get down? Sure can, because everybody loves an audience. Did you see what I just did all by myself? You see, inside our body, there's this pectite that shoots. It's like it's the best high you could ever get from the inside out when you accomplish something all by yourself that the man-made drugs in the world from outside in of getting high can't touch. So allowing them to do things on their own is the best way for learning these life skills, because at the end of the day, if it's not you that's going to show me, then you're teaching me to go learn it from somebody else. It's not a question, are they going to learn it? And who has their offspring's best interests at heart more than you?
Exactly.
Now, you may not know how to do something, which could cause a hesitation, because if you didn't want to, you wouldn't be here. And not knowing which ingredient, which one of the 12 ingredients could be missing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is this simple, but at the end of the day, are you willing to learn?
Absolutely. And I think if you're here, I want to applaud you for being here, because I don't know, like we could live our life with a whole bunch of excuses and alibis, and we can continue to blame the kids, or you can hop on here with us live every Thursday, get your questions answered, and start wrapping your head around maybe there is a new way to parent our children in a way that could create harmony and happiness. Your children want to please you. They want to be seen by you. They want to be like you and do what you do. Don't you remember being a kid? Sometimes we got to go, when they say get down on their level,
it's not physical.
It's not a physical level. Like I could get on your level right now and make eye contact and tell you guide behavior versus punish it. But that you might not have a clear picture. There's a comment there. You might not have a clear picture of what that looks like until we show it to you. So when you get down on a 5-year-old's level and you look them in the eye and you tell them why what they did was inappropriate, or you're trying to teach them a life lesson by looking in their eyes, no, We need to get down on their level by remembering what it was like to be a 2-year-old or a 5-year-old or a 15-year-old. We need to get on their level mentally. Does this make sense? Okay. Makes way more sense than getting on their eye level to lecture them. Okay. So, Angela, if it's their idea to write down what they want, yeah. If the kid says, Grandma, I want to write down what I want this weekend. Cool. Maybe you could give them some options. Would you like to just ask me what you want all weekend long and then have to actually work to earn it? Or do you want to take some time right now and write down some things that are on your mind? That's one way to do it. Or every time they ask for something, Mom, I want to cook, or Grandma, I want a cookie. Grandma, I want to go play on my super cool motorized quad that you have in the garage. You say, awesome, let's write that down. That's called a goal. Let me show you how to make that happen. Now, can you see this vision? Working with a child happily, proactively, as they're focused on something they desire. It's called an internal motivation. It's called a goal. Working with the child, showing them what to do. Monkey see, monkey do. Follow the leader. You are engaged with that child. You're working with them to accomplish a goal. Or you say no because you didn't eat your dessert and I have to maintain the boundary, and now you got a power struggle, and now what do you do with this power struggle? And now you got to spend half an hour to an hour or whatever punishing the meltdown. What sounds more positive and happy to you? Okay. I am making a weekend star chart of their goals for the weekend. That's awesome. Why would you think I would do it to use it against them? Oh, well, I'm not saying you would use it again. I'm saying that the intention, okay. I am saying that, and to be very clear, if we're using what the child wants to get them to do what we want them to do, that's what I mean by we would be using their goals against them. There's just a fine line between the intention. Why are we getting them to write the list down? Is it because you authentically want to help them achieve their goals, or is it so that you can have a peaceful weekend? That's an honest question.
You ready over here?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question was, and thank you so much over here in TikTok land, how to navigate the bad behavior without becoming too demanding.
That's a great question.
You know, so as Bonnie holds up the book, that some of the ingredients that you're going to be looking at, how do you navigate it, the bad behavior? Well, let's get all the pieces into play here, shall we? If it's bad behavior, there's obviously going to be good behavior. Right? And so if you're focusing on the negative, then which one's getting the attention? So write this down if you're open for pen to paper to remember for longer. If my attention was a hose, would I be watering the weeds or the rose? You see, the best way to win at something to go away is to starve it to death. Now, you may or may not have the ability to do self-control training to actually ignore that yet, but that could be a life skill that we talk about. But how do you navigate it? Well, if it's bad behavior, that's one of the three options. What's the opposite of that bad behavior? You see, we got to start operating in threes, because when you create the right environment, which is principle number 3, the environment always wins. It's not, you're not in it. You're actually setting them up that if you do this, society like called stealing, that's bad behavior. That will be what will happen every time. You'll get in trouble. Somebody will punch you in the face. Somebody will report you. That's called how the world works. We're preparing them with role play while they're in the house. Like, okay, well, that's the bad one. What's the opposite way to have it done? What's the proper procedure that you do that we could add? So now they start to have a choice. We can either ignore it, but if we engage, we're either going to go do the bad behavior, call it red, or we're going to do the good behavior, call it green. And we role play both of them Just like in a sport, you kick the ball in the net, you get a point. You kick it outside or past the net, it goes out of bounds. Bad, good. And then you let them actually play the game. So, what does bad behavior show up? That's called, we never take anything away. It's called, I give away some of my privileges. They had the power. If I do this option, I'm giving away my goal that I'm working towards. But if I do this one, who's making their goal show up? Now, I wanted to wrap our head. I'm going to say it one more time. If you feel like you've got to sit there and be like with a dog, you can make him jump. Oh, you want this? And some of his bacon, good to get it, right? You're doing that all the time, right? So if we want to set the stage, if you do this, this happens. When you do this, this happens. Show them both. So that way, when they do it, it happens. Truth. I trust this is coming across correct.
You know what? And I want to pre-frame again for those, especially those who are just tuning in with us. Some of the things that we talk about when it comes to parenting might sound like a different language to you because it is. We have been conditioned since the beginning of time that when a child does something an adult doesn't like, we should punish them. Well, before like 100 years ago, if a child did something the parent didn't like, they sent the kid out back to get a switch, and then the parent would beat them with a switch. They would beat the kids, lock them in closets. It was corporal punishment. We call it authoritarian parenting. Then in 1946, Dr. Spock wrote Baby and Child Care, and he goes, ooh, we shouldn't be beating our children. We can do other things they don't like. We can redirect their behavior. We can bubble wrap everything so that we never have to say no, baby proof the house so you don't have to use the word no. We've also been taught that a child should know what no means by the age of 2 or whatever. No, we don't do that. No, we don't touch that. No. And so when we're talking about guiding behavior proactively and that we never, ever have to use the word no, Mom, I want a cookie. I would love for you to have a cookie. Do you want a quarter of a cookie, 1 cookie, or 2 cookies? So was it Nana? Was it the name Nana?
No.
Oh, what's her name?
How to navigate.
Oh, okay. So whoever just asked that question, when we do it proactively and now the child has asked for a cookie or a video game or TV or whatever it is that they're asking for, guys, that's called a goal. That's called a desire from the inside out from that child. That's like you saying, I want a pair of shoes, and your friend or spouse or mom or dad saying, nope, we don't do that. You just bought a pair of shoes last week. Well, that's very invalidating. So when your child wants something, that's called a goal. We're doing it proactively versus seeing their behavior as being bad. We know that a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old is simply learning how to navigate the world in the best way that they know how, without any idea or concept of how the world works from your perspective.
Yes. And the +1 on this, because it was, how do you do this without demanding? Well, see, you might be attached to one of the 2 options that you want them to do. Every parent wants your kid to be able to kick the ball into the goal to score. But depending on which one they do, whichever option is one that makes their goal show up, the one that makes their goal go away. The power is all in their hands. It's not something that you dole out like, well, you did it the way I wanted you to, so here you go. You've got to take yourself out of the equation of bribing and dictating and be that guider and set up the stage. When you do this, look who made their goal show up. Nice job. Celebrate, high five, hug, or a kiss. Nice job. Who made their goal opportunity go away? Who gave that opportunity to somebody else? Nice job. And only you had the power to give it away or to create it. And when you can stay in that vortex of creating champions for life, it's like game changer where you've been my whole life.
Yeah.
So let's put a case in point. I got a bike. They leave it outside. Would that be bad behavior? Hey, get your damn bike in the garage, whatever it is. And that's probably the PG-13 version. And I've heard everything under the sun, so I'm with you. So the pre-frame is, while you get the bike, because of who bought it, it'd be like, would you like to keep it, little Timmy? Uh-huh. How long? For a day, week, or forever? I want to keep it forever. Well, the best way to keep it forever would be, would it sleep outside in the driveway or on the lawn? Or would the bike sleep inside the garage door with the door shut? Inside the garage door when it's shut? Look how smart you are. Creating the environment for them to interact with it. And two, if you wanted to give it, now I know this is counterintuitive. Nobody wants this, but it's called truth. If you don't understand friction and gravity and you fall, you can't say gravity killed somebody for falling out of a tree. It's just how the world works. If you would like to keep your bike for a very short little window of time, like say 1 day to a week, and then it's gone, make sure you keep your bike inside the garage where it's safe, or outside where somebody walking by can go, ooh, pretty shiny new bike. You see, by them knowing that their cause is what made it go away and to stay.
Yep.
Where are you in the picture other than their big kid trusted advisor, better known as their hero in their movie, to go, show me how it works. Don't tell me how you want me to work it.
Exactly.
And one last truth bomb on it is, you look at your thumb and tell me if your thumbprint matches theirs, then you might have a case and I'll listen to you. But if it doesn't, and all of them are different, let's just say you didn't know that you didn't know, and welcome aboard to Creating Champions for Life.
Yeah. And I also want to say, if this is all making sense, give us some sort of like, I don't know, comment, like, love, share, invite somebody to join us so that they can get this great parenting too. I found this little paragraph out of the book, Learn to Speak Kid. Now I'm on principle 5. So if what Tom said a second ago sounded like, wow, like that was really cool, I've never heard anyone talk to kids like that before. That's what I witnessed back in 2011. The first time I ever saw him talking to my kids when they wanted to medicate my son and put him in a special glass room at school. There's a comment over there. I was like, who taught you to speak to kids like that? So this is why we have mentorship. This is why we have a 90-day parenting challenge. This is why we have the Learn to Speak Kid book, or the Gold Star membership, is because it's simple. Like it's like, oh, I heard that. That makes sense. I love it. But we're programmed. We're so programmed. We're only as good as what we've been taught, just like a child. As parents, aren't we just big kids navigating the world, parenting kids the best way that we know how with the information we've been given?
Yes.
I know that you love your kids and you want the best for your kids. If that's all it took, we'd all be done at conception. We all love and want the best for our kids. If you're willing to learn and to reach out, and yes, Melanie, I'll get to your question here in just 2 seconds. If you're willing to learn and grow and make some changes, I promise you, the kid that you have, the one being diagnosed with ODD, the one getting kicked out of classes, the one you have no idea how to handle right now, the same kid can become the most outstanding leader, respectful, happy, cooperative kid that there is. So it says, knowing that your child's brain thinks and sees the world differently than your adult brain does can help a lot in aiding and guiding behavior. First, we have to change our perception of how we see these little genius offspring. I remember my stepmom going, oh, the little brat. Like, oh my God. And I see, anyways, I don't want to go there right this second. But anyways, it also might bring awareness to those aha moments of, why do I always feel like I have to punish to make anything work? When you engage in punishment, You are, in a sense, forcing the other person to do something against their will. How much does that make sense?
Mhm.
All right. It's not going to work now or forever, especially when your 5-year-old turns 15. You can't like force them to do what you want them to do anymore, which is why so many parents raising teenagers today are left in a state of frustration and completely lost. It's usually something parents will desperately grasp at when nothing else works. We're talking punishment. It's a default technique taught to us by some older generations. When you really and truly engage with the exercise outlined in this book and more thoroughly with the actual self-study course of Learn to Speak Kid, you are learning how to empower your child to make better decisions for themselves. Like, how powerful is it if your child chose to cooperate with you, chose to do their homework, chose to clean their room,
Yes.
chose to be kind to their little brother because they were working towards a goal that's important to them. All right. Bring on the questions. I think we have a couple on
Oh,
TikTok.
yeah,
I have to answer this first. Can you write that one down so we can come right back to it? Melanie Siemens asked, my kids 4 and up are really starting to get the idea of goals. Oh, Melanie, that's awesome. I love that. How do I frame that for my 2-year-old? You know, I'm going to leave that to Tom, but we have a 16-month-old and it'll be time to like get her ready for bed or whatever, and I'll have her little sippy cup. I know what she wants already. So, she's got her little sippy cup here and she'll reach for it and I'll say, as soon as we get dressed, you can have it. As soon as we do this, you can have that. You see, God promises to feed the birds every day, but he doesn't come down from heaven and give them worms or shove worms down their throat. He
No,
says,
no Uber.
he says, you can have the worms, but you got to do something first. It's the law of sowing and reaping. You reap what you sow. But if we've, as parents, only been given one choice, which is authoritative parenting.
Mhm.
The kid does something you don't like, so you have to do something they don't like. Authoritative parenting, authoritative control. Okay? If you look up control, if you Google control, controlling relationship, you're going to find that it is a sin, that it is a negative thing, that you should run away from a controlling relationship. However, we're taught to parent our little genius offspring with authoritative control, that it's your only job is to set and maintain boundaries. And as long as you're not beating them, but you're maintaining boundaries, we can call that gentle parenting. And go ahead. I'm open to get on camera with anybody who may disagree so we can talk this out with facts. We can talk it out logically. I'm all for the boundaries, but how are we setting the boundaries and what is the intention of the boundary? Go
Sure.
ahead.
First one was love the idea. Oh my gosh, where can I find the book? I believe that's just going straight to Amazon.com or .ca and
You
look
know what?
for the book.
Yeah, Amazon.com or Amazon.ca. And if you're on any of our social media platforms, we have a link in our profile with a link tree where you can, number one, join our VIP group. Number two, you can order the book. Like, just pick and choose wherever you're at in that in your journey with us. Go ahead and join our community. We would love to lock arms with you and empower you. Is there another comment there?
The one that came through was more of a victory, right? It was talking about somebody who took on a foster kid.
Oh,
Right? Like, okay, wow, what an accomplishment. Why you did it, right? How you got to that point is irrelevant. Congratulations. In the animal kingdom, we call that the lateral move. You see, it's so amazing that whatever our leadership, better known as mom and dad, that maybe aren't towing the line, the offspring can make a lateral move to another Big Kid Trusted Advisor to complete their Jedi training, their life skills training in order to launch out of the nest. And I tip my hat to all the ones that step up to do what it is, where you learn to feed into your children with life rather than feed off of your children so you can live. Big game changer, battery backwards in the remote. But this foster kid already had a couple labels, like they stick on a cattle for ownership. Somebody owns them. You might want to reframe all these labels because you're selling them off to slavery. ADHD, ODD turned around in 90 days when they completed the 90-day parenting challenge for change. And this amazing little superhero, his name was Floyd. Thank you, Tracy and Eric. You're a shining example of I have no clue what to do, or as we would say, the I don't know has got to go. I now know my role with self-control. And yes, making a decision to step up. This is what all the bad behavior from your kids, if they could tell you what to do, this is what they're saying. You have to look through the chaos to find the clue.
Love it. We just got a message from TikTok. My 3-year-old gets angry when I tell him no and starts hitting and freaking out. You got 2 leaders here behind the camera who want to answer this question. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, parents. I want to go through the cameras and give y'all a great big hug right now. Because what a frustrating time it is to be alive. It's like we're in the information age, which should be a good thing. But there's so much information out there and so many contradictory ideas of what it means to be a parent. And we have been taught to make sure that our children know what no means. But you see, the Bible says in Proverbs, and whether you're a Christian or not, just please hear me out. Without vision, people perish.
With vision,
I'm actually I might get emotional.
We can prosper. Same message. Which one has the higher vibration?
Right? Okay.
Yep.
With vision, people prosper. So when we tell our 3-year-old no, number one, that puts you in total control. There's a question. That puts you in total control and gives the 3-year-old no self-control. You're in control. Even if you say, yes, you can have a cookie. Mom, can I have a cookie? Yeah, sure, here. Or no, you can't. Dinner's in 10 minutes. Whether you say yes or no, you're in control. What your 3-year-old is looking for is some self-control, or your 5-year-old or your 15-year-old. They're looking for self-control. They want to be in control. Your 3-year-old needs a vision on how does a cookie show up then? How does the TV show up then? How does a video game show up then? Because you just told me no, which means you're like everything. I'm nothing without you. So then what is the purpose for my life? So the key here is I would love for you to have that. We're taught in gentle parenting to validate their emotions. And yeah, we want to validate their emotions. We all have the right to feel how we feel. But it's also important to validate their goals, their desires, their thoughts, their words, their actions. Validate. Hey, you know what? Congratulations. You earned half a cookie. I thought you wanted 2, but I love you either way. They are reaping what they're sowing. They're following the laws, the principles. That's what makes creating champions for life so divine.
Okay, I got 2 in queue.
You got 2 questions in queue? Awesome.
Okay. First one here. It's in the category of natural remedies for, childs with any kind of labels, ADHD, ODD, or any of the following.
Go ahead.
So what do you recommend as far as natural remedies? Well, natural remedies are either something that comes directly from the source, kind of like out of the ground or off a tree, or is it going to be man-made? That's not natural. So what you would do here is you would go into the book and you would find chapter 11, principle 11, which is nutrition. And in here, we kind of give you a mindset shift. You put it on a little 3x5 card. We call them flashcards for instant memory right then. There are two things when it comes to food. It's either going to be quality or it's going to be quantity. I'm going to take a moment and dive a little deep in here so you can go, what is a natural remedy? You see, when we start to take a moment and go out of reactive mode, well, I got to find him something. It's very reactive. You're seeing something you don't like, and I got to hurry up and fix this. But if we could just erase the whiteboard for a moment and ask a question for deeper understanding. What is the purpose of my body going grumble, 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 grumble? We would always say it's hungry for food. However, if you were to take it another level and be like, maybe my body's asking for something instead of just food, right? Because I can put water and rocks in my gas tank and then make the fuel gauge go up in the car, but how well would it run? You see, when you can shift the mindset of the natural remedy is, I am putting food, better known as fuel, in my body, called what ingredients is my body asking for that it already knows how to assemble so I can stay operating on the positive side. And then you start to think, what comes directly from the source, right out of the ground or off of a tree? You see, when we went from farmers markets, this is a turn in the 50 to where it was now, shelf life versus our life. That's the game changer. You want to look for things that are more of what the body's asking for. That's the truth.
Awesome. Is there another question?
Handle a 17-year-old, right? Something to gain some kind of leverage. Well, first and foremost, we got to go, well, where did we learn that? Right? I mean, you learned it somewhere. You can't deny that. Did you learn from an uncle? Did it happen to you? Was it the generations that you survived? But more importantly, is it serving you now? Because you can't handle anybody. You can only guide them or punish them. So if you want to handle them, well, they have an opinion. You have an opinion. Whoever has a higher, bigger opinion wins. It's called a fight. And it sounds like you've been feeding them vegetables, so they're getting bigger, better, faster, stronger. So that's never going to work. You start to ask the bigger question: why is this child in the nest still? Prime directive, and that would be principle number 1, knowing your role. My job is to prepare you to leave. Maybe now might be the time for me to start that, because if he knew what to do, he's ready to go. What you're leveraging is you still want him to do it your way. We got to show him so he can do it in his own unique way. I trust that this may not be the romantic answer that you're looking for, but when it is the truth, it will set you free.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say, like, gosh, been where you are, know what you're dealing with, and know the other side. And I just wish I could infuse everything that I've learned from Tom, who worked with thousands of kids. He actually coached 140,000 teenagers working at Nintendo. And, when teenagers are frustrated in a video game, we've all heard our kids scream and throw their controller. Yes. Okay. So when he's talking about guiding these teenagers through a video game without telling them exactly what to do, but guiding them to success, that was preparing him for his after school program called Creating Champions for Life in his martial arts class, where he, again, worked with thousands of kids. So when I met him and I saw him talking to my kids, and I began to write little cue cards or little sticky notes all over my office with this very special language. What should we be doing? I would love for you to have that, validating their goals, making a parent approved plan. Hey, I'd love for you to drive the car. Let me show you what insurance looks like. Let me show you what gas money looks like. Let me show you what all these things look like. Your 17-year-old is almost an adult, and they are looking for the life skills to handle the world on their own. And what I want to say here is, you might think it might work for some and not for others. Well, when my son was a teenager, he chose to go live with his dad. And when he was with his dad, he hooked up with some very not so good people. He came home at the age of 16, and he came home with some habits and some friends that we didn't necessarily like. One of his friends that he had picked up was Tyler. And back in 2011, this little guy was 6 years old, diagnosed with ODD, put in a classroom with a glass at the back, and medicated his whole life. But his dad died in July, a couple of years ago, on Canada Day. And Tom and I were like, okay, well, what's he going to do? Where's he going to go? We'd never met Tyler before in our life. We had just heard about him through Zach. Zach said, my friend's dad died, didn't come home. And so we went over to meet this guy. And here's Tyler sitting in an apartment, left all by himself. Everybody in the family had come over, taken all the things out of the house that were valuable, but left the kid. And I'm like, oh my God, we're creating champions for life. We can't just leave him here. We have to take this kid in. And so we took him in. This 17-year-old, we didn't know him from a hole in the ground, ODD, didn't have any life skills, still taking sleeping pills to be able to sleep. And we wrote out a contract, and we started teaching him life skills, like how to get what you want through actions versus whining. We spent 5 months with Tyler here until he chose to go out. After the age of 18, he chose to go out on his own. Now he's on his own. He's coming over on Monday for Thanksgiving dinner. He still thinks we are his big kid trusted advisors. He's got nobody else to go to. And so we literally adopted this kid. Well, anyways, within 30 days of bringing him into this environment, validating, setting the good, bad, ugly, I can't tell you all the experiences we had. Some were ugly, but we ended up rating a contract saying, if you choose to live here, these are the expectations of what it looks like. You work, you go to school, you get up. If you choose to live somewhere else, all you got to do is sleep all day. And so we created a proactive plan that he had an opportunity to follow. We also turned the Wi-Fi on in the morning after the bathroom and the bedrooms were tidied up. He'd never experienced that before in his entire life. So he would get up and want the Wi-Fi, and we would love for you to have the Wi-Fi. What's all that needs to happen first? We can control the Wi-Fi. It's our Wi-Fi. We pay the bill. It's your house. You pay the bill. You bring the food in. You pay for everything probably. You can control the environment. You can't control the 17-year-old. Well, anyways, now he's 20. He's almost 20. And he's like, the amount of life skills and the amount of self-confidence and the amount of how my life changed in those 5 months living with you guys, extraordinary. So it is possible. And again, this is why we have mentorship programs, because just talking to you might be abstract, but if you can feel in your heart that we're on to something here, proactive versus reactive, trusted advisor versus manager, parent, authoritative control parenting. It's a 180 degree of what you're used to, but then what are we going to end up with? Respectful, confident, happy, healthy, cooperative, peaceful, kind teenagers and adults. Anything to add before I go here and we close up today's call? We're almost getting ready to close up today. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask before we wrap up.
Yeah, just being able to take a child that was already on the cities. It was almost like America's Most Wanted back in the day. If you can rate 80s or 90s TV show, he was on the top 50 list of most troubled, whatever label you want to call kid, menace to society. And when he was able to be shown the other side that's been missing his whole life in his training, And it would be almost just like rubbing your hands to get enough heat to then create fire. You're just missing the one ingredient when he could go from bad behavior Bob to outstanding behavior Rob. And both of those could be in his driver's seat where he could actually have free will and choose. And this one was to make it happen all by myself. He not only came alive,
Yeah.
but the kid felt like for the first time he had authentic freedom. He felt like somebody finally promised me what I was promised when I showed up here in the physical world as a winning lotto ticket. And what I mean by that is 1 out of a million. Only one sperm gets in the egg and you show them physical form. Like, look how awesome astronomical odds for you just to be here today. And when you did something, anything, you were mimicking, and someone to go, oh, look at this. Of course they're doing it wrong. That's besides the point. Look who's ready to learn. When somebody takes something out, little baby, now they're learning to play the game of opposites. It's being able to show them the 3 options, believe that they can learn. The environment will prove, do this one, this one, good, bad, or the ugly. That's what they're looking for. Show me the 3 options in every situation in life and let me choose. And now that he knows what he can create all in his own power, well, he can go to jail or he can go to Yale.
Jail or Yale.
And it's 100% his creative power. That's freedom.
Da, 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 da. I wish I could sing. I want to close the call with this because this book was written back in the 1920s, right around the time of the Great Depression. So he's talking about wealth. And in today's day and age, even though you might not feel like it, we live, if you're in North America, we live in a very wealthy society. Our kids really don't want for anything. Almost every single kid, at least in junior high school or high school, has a cell phone. We all have TVs. We all have stuff. We're not eating a piece of bologna for dinner. Are you with me? Okay. So I want to say this. I always use the line, like, cut them off the welfare system, cut the kids off the welfare system and teach them how to earn their own privileges. Because when they earn their own privileges, number 1, they feel good about themselves. Number 2, they appreciate and respect the things that they have. Number 3, we're teaching them authentically how the world works. We like to play, give me that. We like to play the truth card with our kids. Just tell them the truth card. Okay. We're going to play the truth card and just tell them the truth. I would love for you to have that. That's called a goal. Now we have to work for it, make some money, go to the store, buy it, take care of it, and all these things. We need to tell our kids the truth of how the world works right then and there. That shift in parenting will change the world. All right. But this is what Napoleon Hill says. He says, one of the chief disadvantages of inherited wealth is the fact that it too often leads to inaction and loss of self-confidence. So if you have a child who you see is unmotivated, lazy, lethargic, sleeping all day, somebody who's experiencing maybe depression or even anxiety, these all go with this one statement here. He says, some 12 years ago, a baby was born in the city of Washington. Its inheritance was said to be around $100 million. When this baby was taken for an airing in its carriage, it was surrounded by nurses and assistant nurses and detectives and other servants whose duty was to see that no harm befell it. As the years passed by, the same vigilance was kept up. Now, we might not have $100 million, but don't we create an environment that is safe and protected? And don't we do everything and provide everything for our children and to give them a good life, thinking that that makes us great parents? It's the same type of thing. As the years passed by, the same vigilance was kept up. The child did not have to dress himself. He had servants who did that. Well, now the child doesn't usually have to dress himself. They have parents who do that, right? They don't have to cook for themselves. They have parents who do that. The servants watched over him while he slept and while he was at play. He was not permitted to do anything that a servant could do for him. He was not permitted to do anything outside of what I allow him to do. He was not permitted to do anything that I could do for him. He had grown to the age of 10 years old. One day he was playing in the backyard and noticed the back gate had been left open. In all of his life, he had never been outside of that gate. And naturally, that was just the thing he wished to do. This is really powerful. He was not allowed to do it. Naturally, that's the thing he was wished to do. So as we work to protect our children from harm, as we neglect to teach them life skills, but continue to just provide, I want that. And then you feel like you're in a position of having to say yes or no. Then we are creating this type of environment. He says, during a moment when the servants were not looking, during a moment when mom and dad were not looking, does your child sneak, steal, lie, cheat? In a moment, the parents were not looking. Their child dashed out the gate and was run down and killed by an automobile before he reached the middle of the street. So what we're saying here is, let's stop managing our children's behavior, and let's step into our leadership role as parents. Reframe bad behavior to missing life skills. Know that it is our job to prepare these little beings for the world by showing them what to do to make their own goals show up. And I'm telling you what, life will completely 100% transform. And we're here to help you. If you're on TikTok, see our profile. Come join our community. If you're in our Facebook group, you're already a part of our community. Show up for these live Q&As. Take advantage of this. This is like parent coaching in your pocket. And this is the solution that you're looking for outside of medication, outside of therapy. All of those things just fix the symptoms. They don't actually fix it from the inside out, so that you can be happy parents. You can enjoy your role as parents. Your children can look at you in awe instead of in fear, and your parenting dreams can come true. If you are in our group, I will put a link underneath the video here, inviting you to schedule a time to speak with me. I'd love to walk through your situation. And yeah, thank you so much for participating in today's live Q&A. Do you have anything else to share?
Yeah, the last thing would just be, think about our mindset, right? Our brain's a computer, and you got some software running, some beliefs, things like this. But the mindset, this is Einstein, right? I loved how he quoted this. He said, the mindset, or the software that creates the problem, is the exact same mindset or software that can't fix the problem. Because if it could, why would we create it in the first place? And that reframe that Bonnie's talking about is, creating champions for life would be the new upgraded software that allows you to go, my mindset that creates the puzzle can always solve the puzzle, because every puzzle, by definition, has a solution that is yet to be found.
All right. Can you read that? Just that last question that just came in over here.
Over here?
Yeah.
How do we do those things exactly? My son, when he's upset, he hears no reason, no logic.
No, you can't reason with you can't reason with a upset adult, let alone an upset child.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about is, being proactive.
You can't do training when you're in a fire getting out.
We have consequences, but it's like they really don't care. Yeah, they don't care about the consequences because their goals, what they actually want, aren't being validated. I'm going to keep this question, and maybe I'll do a TikTok for you. Can you write that down so I can do a special TikTok? This is the first time we've gone live, and I wish I could see better. I'm sorry. I'm going to come get your name. And then hang on. I want to be able to reply to you. This is Cat with 2 eyes and a Z 95. Cat with 2 eyes and a Z 95. Okay, so I'm gonna answer your question as best I can in a separate TikTok video, and then maybe we will bring that on our live next week, because here's the thing: we can do our best to answer your questions. The questions that we're answering though are answered in like Learn to Speak Kid way. So I do suggest to strongly get this book. This is the only parenting book you'll ever need if your goal is to raise champions and create harmony in your home. But we have to wrap up today. So walk us out.
Yep.
Yep.
Until we do meet again, here's to our parenting success.
Have a
Cheers.
great week, everybody.
Bye
Next
for now.
Thursday, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time.